Hey everyone, how's it going? Thanks so much for tuning in. In today's video, we get the opportunity to take an in-depth look at the 2019 BMW M5 Competition. In this video, I'll be covering all of the ins and outs. We'll talk about features, pricing, performance, how it drives, how it sounds, and more. There's a lot of stuff to cover. I'm also going to be shooting a dedicated pure sound on this as well, which should go live sometime tomorrow. It's going to cover cold starts, how it sounds between the different drive modes. I'll get some more revs, acceleration, all of that good stuff. So if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so and make sure that little notification bell is selected. I appreciate it. BMW first launched the new M5 for the 2018 model year. The competition is new for 2019. There's other competition models as well, such as the M3 and M4. Now, the big focus here wasn't necessarily on large power gains. There is a little bit of extra power, but the biggest differences are in the chassis tuning and overall response of the car. There's also some unique styling touches, of course, and a fantastic sound and exhaust system. This exterior color is known as Marina Bay Blue Metallic. It is absolutely beautiful. Amongst the many optional features, this one also has the executive package. One of the features that's included with that is soft closing doors. So if you just let it go, it automatically pulls it up. Super cool. Inside, you'll find Silverstone extended leather upholstery. It's basically white on black with black accent stitching, black accents on the seats. It's just a really nice color combo. Pricing for the 2019 M5 starts at $102,700, while the competition model starts at $110,000. This example has a lot of optional extras. If you group them together and add the destination and the $1,000 gas guzzler tax, total MSRP for what you see here is $132,095. All right, let's hop on in. Of course, smart key entry and push button ignition are both standard features. In order to start, the key fob just has to be within the interior. Then you would put your foot on the brake and hit the red dash mounted button to go. This exhaust note is intoxicating. Like, I know BMW uses a lot of electronic sound enhancement in their vehicles nowadays, but I don't know. This sounds more natural than I thought it would, especially when you have the exhaust valves open. Now, when you close them, this is actually pretty quiet. I think there's extra enhancement in Sport Plus, but they did a really good job with tuning this exhaust. When it crackles on overrun, oh man, it just gets you all giddy inside. This thing is nuts. I'll have some more sound clips at the end of this video, and of course, don't miss that pure sound tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. I think this is just as good a time as any to dive right into the powertrain. The M5 is powered by a twin turbocharged 4.4-liter V8. In its standard form, it produces 600 horsepower between 5,700 and 6,600 RPM and 553 pound-feet of torque between 1,800 and 5,700 RPM. For the competition, horsepower has been upped to 617. Torque remains the same, but the torque band widens by 160 RPM. In other words, peak torque for the competition is available anywhere between 1,800 and 5,860 RPM. The engine features an aluminum block with aluminum cylinder heads, direct fuel injection with a compression ratio of 10:1, as well as 4 valves per cylinder, double overhead camshafts, and fully variable valve timing. I went ahead and took the center cover off so you can see the inner workings of everything. In the middle of the V, between the cylinder banks, you have your turbos. There's also a cross-bank exhaust manifold, just like the last M5, but it's been tweaked a little bit. All of that power is harnessed by a ZF 8HP75 8-speed automatic transmission within specific calibrations. It's pretty cool how this electronic shifter works too. You put your foot on the brake and tap it over to the right to put it in gear. Tap it to the right again to toggle between automatic and manual shifting. Pull it back to upshift, push forward to downshift. There's also a set of silver paddle shifters on the back of the steering wheel. To put it in neutral, tap it over to the left, and then reverse is left and forward. Park is by the button on the back. The various drive modes for the powertrain, dampers, and steering are located to the left of the shifter. There's 3 separate modes apiece: Comfort, or efficiency, for the powertrain, as well as Sport and Sport Plus, all pretty self-explanatory. You can also alter the behavior of the stability control system. The M5 Competition can hit 60 miles an hour in 3.1 seconds. Woo! Good day! So much torque! The transmission is sending power to the ground through BMW's xDrive permanent 4-wheel drive system. It's a rear biased system by default, and you have like a center multi-plate clutch pack or whatever that's constantly shuffling torque between the front and rear. On top of that, there's an active differential out back, so whenever the torque gets to the back, it's further split between the 2 wheels, whichever wheel needs more traction at that current moment. What's really cool about the all-wheel drive system, and I'll show you in just a moment, it's customizable. So if you want an even more rear bias setup between, disabling stability control and all of that stuff, you can do it. You can also make it 2-wheel drive. Yes. Boy, we live in an exciting time. It's an awesome time to be a car enthusiast. There's so many amazing technologies coming out nowadays. Top speed is electronically limited to 155 miles per hour unless you get the M driver's pack, which this one has. That raises it to 189 miles per hour. Also with that pack, you get like a day M driving performance experience and stuff, so you can learn how to drive your car to its fullest potential, which sounds like a lot of fun. Traction and stability are both on by default, but if you press the DSC button in the console once, it puts everything into what's called M dynamic mode. You still have maximum traction but reduced stability control innervation, so you can have a little bit more fun. That being said, if you hold down the DSC button for a few seconds, it will shut everything off. But that's not the end of the customizations. If you configure xDrive, you can actually adjust the bias of the all-wheel drive system between a standard, 4-wheel drive sport, and you see that correct, you can actually make it 2-wheel drive by just the touch of a button. So if you're skilled enough and want to experience the handling in its purest form, go for it. In addition to your typical suite of drive modes, there's a small rocker switch on top of the shifter that corresponds to what's called the drive logic system. It's basically an independent transmission controller that alters the shift algorithm between 3 modes. You have more relaxed shifting, sporty shifting, and more track-oriented shifting that's a lot more aggressive. Shifts are held longer in automatic mode. It's a pretty sweet setup. Shifts also get quicker with each mode. I can't believe how fast this transmission shifts, both up and down. I have it set to the sportiest setting of the drive logic system, and it's just like bam, bam, bam. For not being a dual clutch, this is insane. And it's actually a big difference between drive logic 1, 2, and 3. It's so entertaining in 3, I just can't not drive it in 3. Next to the drive mode buttons is another button that says Setup. If you press that, it brings up a whole separate menu within the infotainment system to configure M1 and M2, MX drive like I showed you just a second ago, as well as changing the layout of the heads-up display. Now, M1 and M2 are activated by the red buttons on the steering wheel. They're basically two preset parameters for two separate drivers. So you can configure stability control, the mode for X drive, engine, chassis, steering, transmission, the heads-up display. So if there's two different people driving the car on the regular, all they have to do is press the button corresponding to them, and it brings up all of the favorite settings. As far as the heads-up display, it's quite comprehensive. There's a lot of information that it can show. But if you want something a little more sporty, you could put it in M view. It completely changes the layout of it and incorporates a large hockey stick-shaped tachometer. In the center console, you also have your electronic park and brake with auto hold feature, your front view camera, parking sensors, and exhaust sound controller. So when it's open, it's loud. Press it, it gets a lot more understated. We'll leave that on. I'll talk about the infotainment system in just a moment. On the regular M5, 19-inch wheels come standard while 20s are optional. However, on the Competition, 20s are standard. They're wrapped in Pirelli P0 tires, two 75/35s in front and two 85/35s in the rear. The wheels themselves are 9.5 inches wide in front and 10.5 inches wide in the rear. When it comes to brakes, the M5 offers two different setups. The standard M compound brakes save a little bit of weight over traditional cast iron discs. They span 15.5 inches in front and 15 inches in the rear, clamped down by 6-piston and single-piston calipers respectively. On this example, you have the $8,500 optional carbon ceramic brakes. These are a little bit larger in front, 15.7 inches, and they remain 15 inches in the rear. All of the brake setups are internally ventilated with cross-drilled perforations, with a parking brake built into the rear caliper. You can easily tell whether an M5 has carbon ceramics, not just by looking at the disc material, but the calipers. They're gold instead of the standard blue. You want to talk about some strong brakes? Oh my gosh. Oh, they picked my eyeballs off the floor. The carbon ceramics, they do the job. Let's put it that way. The M5 suspension is fully independent and very much aluminum intensive to help keep weight down. Up front, you have a double wishbone setup, in the rear, a 5-link setup. At all four corners, you have 3-mode adaptive dampers. With the Competition, everything has been turned up a notch. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this whole package isn't about raw power or anything like that. It's about handling, it's about improving overall response, so they've completely retuned the entire chassis. For starters, ride height is lower by 7 millimeters. There's also more negative camber up front. The spring rates are firmer, the engine mounts are stiffer, the roll bars have been retweaked. Even the toe links in the rear now feature ball joints instead of rubber bushings, so there's more precise wheel control at the rear. I'm probably forgetting some other things, but you get the picture. Everything was thoroughly checked over. This is a relatively firm setup, and I just don't know how they tuned the chassis the way they did, because straight up, it is amazing. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, it's such an incredible balance between performance and comfort. Like I said earlier, you got 3-mode adaptive dampers on here. We have Comfort, Sport, and Sport Plus. Right now, I have the car set to Sport, which I think is a good balance. I think Sport Plus is a little too firm. Probably best to reserve that one for track duty, but I have terrible roads around where I live. Like, they're great country roads, good open spaces to have some fun, but they are rough as all get out. But as firm as this is, it doesn't jar you at all. Like, bump, bump, bump. Like, it just soaks it up so well, and the chassis, is so responsive, it's so well balanced that it just keeps its composure no matter what. Even on like undulating portions and stuff, like you do a little bounce or whatever, but it's like, you're never like, ow. Just like, okay, bump in the road, give me more. This is a phenomenal machine. Good gracious. As far as fuel economy, the M5 is rated between 14 miles per gallon in the city and 21 miles per gallon on the highway. In normal driving, you can expect an average somewhere around 17 miles per gallon. The total tank capacity is 20.1 gallons, and of course, premium unleaded is required. The M5 has quite a different look from your typical 5 Series. It's certainly more aggressive, but a lot of the changes that you see actually serve a dedicated purpose, whether it be for cooling, aerodynamics, weight reduction, or a combination of all three. The front and rear fascias, side skirts, side view mirrors, and the fender vents are all unique to the M5. The fender vents work in conjunction with a pair of vents up in the front fascia to do a couple of important things. They work together to help channel air out to improve brake cooling, but they also help relieve positive pressure or the buildup of air in the front wheel arches, which could cause front end lift. By alleviating all that pressure, downforce is improved and the front end is brought closer to the ground at higher speeds. With the performance this thing is capable of, cooling becomes especially important. That's why you have this very low restrictive front end with 3 gaping intakes in the front. The trapezoidal portion towards the bottom actually helps funnel air to the engine oil cooler. The other ones just channel air to all of the vital stuff. The kidney grills follow a similar design. Instead of having big grill slats, they're really thin to allow more air to pass through. All of the LED lighting is standard equipment. The headlights in particular are fully adaptive, so they turn with the steering wheel and even have little cornering lights that come on demand. To help cut down on some of the weight that sits over the front wheels, the hood and front fenders are made from aluminum. And for the first time, the roof is made from carbon fiber, which also helps lower the center of gravity. Aside from the wheels, the lower ride height, and the special badging out back, there's no major cosmetic differences between a standard M5 and an M5 Competition. The most notable stuff include the blacked out trim, blacked out grille, blacked out mirror surrounds, just everything is blacked out. There's no exposed chrome except for the BMW badging. Going off of the handling discussion, the steering is phenomenal. It is so quick to respond. I mean, this is not a lightweight car by any means. I mean, we're talking pretty much full-size sedan here, and I am carving up the roads like I'm in some nimble sports car. It doesn't seem natural at all, but there's actually really good feedback in this steering too. You can adjust the level of firmness through the drive modes, Comfort, Sport, and Sport Plus. Even in Sport Plus, it doesn't feel too tight. It actually feels perfect. As you would expect for something of this price range, the interior is just fantastic. The build quality alone, I mean, everywhere you touch, there's leather, high quality stitched padded material, dark woven aluminum trim, lots of dark chrome, high gloss black trim. It's just beautiful. There is so much technology in this thing, it is unreal. There's no way I can cover it all in one video. On the right side of the steering wheel, you have all of your audio controls, hands-free telephone and voice commands, heated steering wheel towards the bottom, as well as your adaptive cruise control settings off to the left, and steering assistance. So when this thing is activated, it'll actually help keep you in the lanes as you're going down the road. This is a good point to bring up safety too. In addition to a full suite of airbags, there's a lot of driver assistance technology standard, including frontal collision warning, lane departure warning, and active blind spot detection. However, there's an extra package called Driving Assistance Plus, which this one has. It comes at $1,700. With that, you get the adaptive cruise system with stop and go, active lane keeping assistant with side collision avoidance, front and cross traffic alert, and more. Even with having so much bolstering, these seats are some of the most comfortable I've sat in quite some time because they are just so supportive. They also have a ton of adjustments to go between. You have power adjustments for the thigh extension, 4-way power lumbar, You can adjust the side support, the rake of the upper backrest, the headrests, just all sorts of stuff. The M5 logos and the headrests also light up at night. The seatbelts have the traditional M tricolor stitching, as does the steering wheel. With the executive package, you also get active seat massage. So just go through the vehicle settings, hit seat massage, and choose whichever one fits you best. There's a lot of storage opportunities too, including 2 large door pockets, a cubby underneath the left-hand side of the dash, 2 cup holders in the center console with an available wireless charging pad, part of the executive package, and some storage towards the rear of the console with a split opening. Inside, you'll find a 12-volt power outlet and a USB port. The glove box offers decent space too. It's lockable, damped, lined in felt, and LED lit. And here's a look at the interior lights at dusk. I think these are my favorite styling touches of the whole interior. Like I said, those M5 logos illuminate. The speakers in the rear doors light up too. As far as infotainment, you have this large widescreen high-definition display sitting on top of the dash. You have a rotary controller in the center console that's pretty straightforward to use, but the screen itself is also a touch screen, so you can use it a couple different ways. They've also got this crazy new feature called gesture control. As if having a touch screen and a rotary dial together wasn't enough already, you can control a lot of the features just using hand gestures. For example, volume. The optional Bowers & Wilkins surround sound system not only sounds great, but it looks great too. All of the speaker grills for the most part are stainless steel and beautifully detailed. The centers are LED backlit. The CD player is located right underneath the center air vents, along with some extra radio controls. The quad zone climate control system that's in this is part of the executive package. You also have the heated and ventilated seats and all of that stuff, but you probably noticed that the center bank of controls is actually digital. Really neat. Sometimes it's hard to use going down the road because you don't actually have physical buttons. I've actually hit the wrong button by accident, but if you hit this menu button right here, it also brings up some controls within the infotainment system. The headliner is completely wrapped in black Alcantara. There's grip handles at all 4 doors, Bluetooth microphones, light up vanity mirrors and auto dimming rearview mirror, as well as SOS emergency roadside assistance. Some of the perks of having the executive package benefits rear seat passengers too. For example, both rear doors have manual sunshades that you can pull up. There's the 4-zone climate control system, so you have fully independent adjustments back here. You have heated seats, as well as a powered rear sunshade. I just can't get over how fantastic this interior looks. All of the detailing, the build quality. It's just a phenomenal place to be. Let's climb in and check out overall space. I'm 5'10" and with a comfortable seating position for myself up front, I still have plenty of leg space. Maybe 2.5 inches or so. I'd say head space is roughly a couple inches or so too. If you're around 6 feet, shouldn't have too much trouble sitting back here. All of the climate controls and automatic feature are located in the back of the center console. If you didn't see it earlier, there's a small tray down beneath, as well as 2 12-volt power outlets. Other amenities include air vents in the B-pillars, which is quite nice. You have grip handles and coat hooks up top, and of course all of your LED lighting. You can comfortably sit 4 people back here, no problem. There are provisions to seat a 5th person in the middle, but it is definitely going to be tight. If you didn't have somebody sitting in the middle, you can always fold down this armrest. It's all leather wrapped and it has pop-out cup holders towards the front. Naturally, the M5 comes standard with a fully powered trunk lid. Just hit the button and it does the rest. If you're walking up to the car with your arms full and can't exactly reach the key fob or one of the buttons, you can also use the foot activated system. So just stand behind here, put your foot underneath the fascia, and you can open and close the trunk lid. There's quite a lot of cargo space back here, 18.7 cubic feet to be specific. In comparison, the Mercedes-AMG E63S only has 13.1 cubic feet. There's a storage compartment off to the far right for stowing smaller items, as well as a first aid kit compartment to the left and a small net. There's LED lighting as well as a 12-volt power outlet. In order to maximize your cargo space, you can grab those two handles up top and fold down the rear seat. Once folded, you'll be able to load cargo all the way to the front seats. The seat is actually a 40-20-40 split design, so if you wanted to, you can fold down just the middle section and carry some thinner, longer items like skis. Alright everyone, that just about wraps it up for this video. Before I close it out, let's go ahead and hear how it sounds in Sport Plus. Remember to stay tuned for that pure sound demonstration on the new M5 Competition. The video will go live tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. That's a wrap. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed the in-depth look at the 2019 BMW M5 Competition. If you haven't subscribed already, consider doing so because there's always a lot more where that came from with weekly car reviews as well as project videos, so hit that little notification bell and stay tuned. Don't forget to leave a like below, I really appreciate it. It helps the videos out a lot. Until next time guys, I'll see ya. Take care.